everyone, I'm going to be spending the next 5 days in Finland, which is, fun fact, also known as the happiest country on earth. So we're going to be finding out what makes everyone so happy here. We'll be seeing some amazing Finnish architecture, trying traditional Finnish food, and of course, saunaing as much as humanly possible. Special shout out to the Finnish embassy for inviting me on this trip. I cannot wait to show you guys everything that we do. I started my trip to Finland in Washington, D.C., and since there aren't any direct flights, I did have to do a layover in London, but it really wasn't bad and the total travel time was less than 13 hours. I flew British Airways to London and then Finnair for the first time on my way to Helsinki. I thought it was really cute that they served us blueberry juice on the flight, and before we knew it, we were at the Helsinki airport, which was really cute, tons of Christmas and of course Moomin decor. The customs process was really quick. However, it took over an hour for our suitcases to come out, and I think that was the longest I've ever had to wait. But once I got them, I went straight to the airport train station, which was so convenient and easy. You can actually even tap your credit card on the machine inside the train to pay, which I thought was really cool. Once I got off at the train station, it was only a short walk to the hotel. We stayed at the Scandic Grand Central Helsinki, and it was really beautiful on the inside. The building itself is historic and was designed by a renowned Finnish architect and originally used as the headquarters for VR, which is the Finnish State Railway Company. After I got checked in, I went straight to my room, and the room wasn't huge, but I really liked it. It had big windows and the bed was super comfortable, and also the bathroom was really nice. So the Finnish embassy gave us this really cute little tote bag. Let's see what's inside. Hey, there's our itinerary. We have oh yeah, I know what this is. We're going to the Flow Fest on Friday. Have our tickets and wristband in here. It's like a little dry bag, maybe for our swimsuits after saunaing or something. Got a map with some gum, some kind of drink. I think this is black licorice. I heard that licorice is really popular in Finland. I know black licorice is kind of controversial, but I actually like it. Happiness cookie. And is this the last thing? Moomin candies. Can't wait to try these. After getting settled in the hotel room, I then met up with the rest of our group to walk through the city to our dinner reservation at a restaurant called Kurna. Kurna is a small restaurant offering Nordic cuisine that changes seasonally, and we were told it's very popular with locals right now. It was easy to see why, because the food was amazing. I really cannot recommend this place enough. When we finished dinner, we walked straight back to the hotel, and I could not believe how bright the sky still was at 10 p.m. in August. Other than stopping to read a few street signs on the walk home, if you know, you know, I went straight to bed as soon as I got back to the hotel to be ready for the next day. For day 2, we were going to be doing a lot of running around, so I wanted to start out with a big breakfast to keep me going. I tried the hotel breakfast, which was really good. They had a huge selection and a ton of Finnish foods. It was actually my first time trying a Karelian pie, which is a super popular breakfast in Finland. They were so good, I ate them every day of the trip. We then headed out on our first stop of the day, which was to visit Oodi Library, which I don't normally think to visit libraries while I'm traveling, but I'm so glad we went here because this is genuinely the coolest library I've ever seen. We also had the privilege of getting a tour from the lead architect himself, Antti Nousjoki. As for what made this library so cool, in addition to the incredible architecture, were some of the things that the library itself had to offer, like 3D printers, instruments to borrow, full-on recording studios, all for the public to use for free. And of course, there were tons and tons of books, but even games that you could borrow, and tons of spaces for children. The top floor also had this big, beautiful terrace overlooking the square in front of the library and some of the most iconic architecture in the city. I really cannot recommend visiting this place enough. After visiting the library, we went just a short walk over to the newly renovated Finlandia Hall. This multi-purpose event space was designed by Finland's most famous architect, Alvar Aalto. The space was absolutely beautiful, with details designed by Alto himself down to the light fixtures and the furniture. The building also has a small exhibition area that shows the history of the project and showcases some of Finland's most iconic design and architecture. If you like interior design and architecture, I highly recommend checking this place out. We then took a short tram ride for only a couple of stops down to the waterfront area to visit the old market hall where we were gonna have lunch. I don't know about you, but I love visiting markets, and this place was so cool. There was tons of food and little souvenirs and unique items like reindeer horns as well as reindeer jerky, which of course I had to buy some. We then sat down for lunch at the cafe in the center of the market called Story, where we had the iconic Finnish dish of salmon soup. It was so good. Next, we headed over to the docks to take a boat over to the Helsinki Biennial. We walked through a little farmer's market and picked up some strawberries for the boat ride over. We then hopped on our short ferry over to Vallisaari Island, which is where the Helsinki Biennial is set up. Once there, you basically walk a large loop around the island and see contemporary art installations throughout. We also learned that Vallisaari Island was used only by the military until 2016, and so the buildings that housed a lot of the art were actually old ammunition bunkers, and parts of the island are even still closed off because they haven't been fully combed for explosives. Even this idyllic looking lake had no swimming signs around its perimeter because they don't know if there are still explosives hiding beneath its calm looking surface. And finally, I love this island just because it was so beautiful and green, and it felt like you got a little nature walk amidst seeing all of this art. And if you're hungry or want a break, there were tons of little cafes and restaurants throughout the island. We made a little pit stop for a glass of champagne, and it was just so nice. We then hopped back on the boat to the center of Helsinki, where we went to Alice Sea Pool for a swim and sauna. Guys, this is so cool. Also, this entire pool deck is actually floating on the ocean. I've never been to anything like this before. There's also saunas here. I can't film there for obvious reasons, but oh my god, and you can also just get in the ocean here. Okay, wait, look at this. So you have the two pools, but then this is actually ocean water. So you can get like the cold plunge, real experience right here. But if you just want an actual swimming pool, they're over there. Overall, Alice Sea Pool was such a highlight of the trip, and if you're in Helsinki, I highly recommend going. And finally, our last stop of the day was this restaurant called Shelter, where we tried the chef's tasting menu. And it sounds silly, but the bread that they brought to the table was literally some of the best I've ever had. Apparently, this is called Finnish archipelago bread, and I cannot tell you how good this was. And of course, the mains and dessert were also amazing. So if you're in the area, I definitely recommend checking out Shelter. On day 3, we got up bright and early to head to the train station to check out a new part of the country, Lappeenranta and Lake Saimaa. I definitely recommend taking the train while you're in Finland because the experience was so easy. Also, the trains are so nice and modern. I loved how they had these outward facing seats with big windows. And we had been so busy, I had forgotten to introduce our group leaders. So this is Kaisa from the Finnish embassy. She's taking us around this week.
Hi, welcome to Finland.
Thank you. And actually the town where we were headed, Lappeenranta, was Kaisa's hometown. So it was kind of cool to see a taste of where she came from. Once we made it to Lappeenranta, we hopped in a bus and headed to our first stop, Cafe Majorska. Walking inside this cafe really made you feel like you were going back in time with some antique furniture, needlepoint designs on the walls. But we weren't just there for the aesthetic experience, we were actually there to learn how to make the traditional meat pies from this region. When you hear meat pie, you might be imagining something different, but this kind of meat pie was essentially a fried dough stuffed with different toppings like sliced ham, hard-boiled egg, condiments like relish, mustard, ketchup, and onions. It was so hearty and filling, I loved it. After we finished the meat pies, they then took us over to the pastry counter where we got to pick out a dessert. I chose a raspberry cake. I'd never had anything like this before, and as someone who loves raspberries, this is one of my favorite cakes I've ever tried. And finally, before heading out, we checked out the other other side of the cafe, which actually had a small shop of artisanal goods. I actually recently got a sauna, and so I wanted to get some sauna accessories. I mean, what better place to get sauna accessories than Finland? Then to walk off our big lunch, we did a short walking tour where we saw a view of the city from one of the highest points. And we also visited an Orthodox church. It was so beautiful. So we just finished a short walking tour of Lappeenranta, and now we are going to the thing that I'm most excited about this trip. We're not just going to sauna, because of course you have to sauna as much as possible in Finland, but we're going on a sauna boat. I cannot wait to show you. All right, we're walking up to it now. Here's what it looks like. So the sauna boat was basically 2 platforms with a little rooftop area with a barbecue, and then in the lower area you had a full-on Finnish sauna. Never did I think I would be floating on the water in Finland in a sauna, but here we are. And surprisingly, I thought this might be sort of a one-off touristy gimmick, but actually a lot of the boats here had saunas in them. So this was a full-on Finnish experience. I definitely recommend trying it if you go to Finland. After the sauna boat, we made 2 quick stops. One to the Cottage factory store where we got a ton of different chocolates. This is actually one of the most famous chocolate and candy brands in Finland. And then we headed over to this outdoor sandcastle installation, which they do annually every summer, which was just so unique and fun to see. We then hopped back in our van to head over to Villa Laipniemi, where we would be staying for the night and getting the Finnish summer cottage experience. The place that we stayed was absolutely beautiful, recently renovated but historic building with tons of old touches mixed in with a modern interior. Here we were also joined by celebrated local chef Ulla Liukunen, who showed us how to make these traditional Finnish potato flatbreads. They were so fun to make, and we ate them with egg butter and salmon and dill on top, and they were so delicious. We spent the rest of the evening playing lawn games, roasting salmon by the fire, which we had with some delicious roasted vegetables and meat and mushroom sauce. We also learned how to hand make sauna whisks, and of course we went swimming and sauning and sitting in the jacuzzi well into the evening. The question that I wanted to answer while I was here in Finland is, why is this the happiest country in the world? And I've only been here 2 days, and yet to me it's pretty clear that like everything we're experiencing out here is what it's about. I feel this sense of peace, this calm, this happiness. It's so nice, and I wish anyone could experience this. As much as I wish we could have stayed longer, the next day we were heading back to Helsinki, but before we did, we stopped at Lermus Roastery. Lermus has 3 times won the best roastery in Finland, and so it was really cool to see the roasting process up close and personal. And of course we had to buy some coffee before we left. We then headed over to the train station to catch a ride back to Helsinki, where we went to check into our next hotel, the NH Collection Helsinki Grand Hansa. This hotel was also really close to the train station, so super convenient. I loved the interior, and also the room was so nice. They also left us a little gift on the desk in the room. There was a chocolate bar and also a little candle holder from the famous Finnish glassware brand Itala. We had a little bit of free time before meeting back up with the group, so I met up with my friend Jamie and we went on a walk together to explore the center. Our first stop was Stockman, which is a famous department store. In addition to classic department store counters, we saw a ton more Moomin stuff, and we tried these chocolates that were actually black licorice inside a chocolate ball. I was not expecting to love these, and I ended up buying some for myself. They were so good. We then went down to the grocery store in the basement of the department store, because one of my favorite things when I'm traveling is to see what grocery stores look like in other countries, and this one did not disappoint. Like, for example, they had these huge potato bins and these pickle tubs and massive coolers filled with long drink. But the thing that impressed me the most was the candy section.
Wow, there's so much candy here. Yeah, so like a lot of people have been calling it Swedish candy. For us, it's obviously Finnish candy. So every supermarket in Finland, they will always have a pick and mix candy section.
Yeah.
And at least I know when I was a kid, I don't know if people still do this, but essentially when I was younger, it was called lauantai, and every Saturday was candy day, and that's the day you eat candy.
This is the word for Saturday?
Yeah, lauantai.
Oh, cute. We still had some time before we had to meet up with the rest of the group, so we decided to check out Itala, the Finnish glassware brand I mentioned earlier. Everything was so pretty. I wish I could take it all home. It was time to meet with the group again, so we headed over to Kupoli Bar, which is actually the rooftop of the hotel we were staying in, and they gave us this private area that had an observation deck overlooking the city. Then when it came to the cocktails, they had a really extensive menu made up of modern Nordic cocktails. The drinks were so unique. I'd never seen a cocktail menu like this before. We really enjoyed it. After our quick stop on the rooftop cocktail bar at the hotel, we hopped on the subway to head over to Flow Festival. And something I thought was really cool was seeing this giant bicycle parking lot right outside of the festival. And fun fact, Flow Festival is also the world's first zero waste music festival and also one of the first carbon neutral music festivals globally. Once inside, we first headed over to get something to eat and then headed into the Platinum area so that we could find a space to sit down more easily. We then bounced around to check out all of these different stages. I especially liked the balloon stage. I just thought it had such a unique look, and overall this festival was so much fun and I'd love to come back one day. And just like that, it was our final day already, so I got up and grabbed some breakfast with our group. I didn't have very much time before the flight took off, but I decided to check out the saunas in the hotel. It was so nice and I basically had the place all to myself. There was a Finnish sauna, a steam sauna, and also a cold plunge, which from experience I can tell you, yes, is very, very cold. They also had a nice little relaxation area, and overall this was such a nice way to prepare for 13 hours of travel back to the US. I just got back from the sauna and I'm about to head to the airport. Overall, this week has been incredible. I thought I would like Finland. I didn't realize that I would love it this much, and this is definitely a country that I want to come back to. During the summer, yes, because the whole summer cottage experience, saunaing and then swimming in the lake and just being out in nature was so incredible. But really I want to come and see other seasons too, like seeing Finland in the snow and the northern lights, and at Christmas time I think would just be so incredible. There's so much to do here. Like, I really think Finland is such a great country, and there's a little bit for everyone. You can rest and rejuvenate. You can go see beautiful architecture and museums. You can go to music festivals. There is just so much to do here. And if you're considering coming to Finland, seriously, do it. Book the trip, because I have just had the best time and I cannot recommend it enough. I just want to say thank you so much again to the Embassy of Finland in the US for inviting me on this trip. It's been just so incredible and such a wonderful way to experience the country. And I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity. Thanks again for coming along on this journey with me to Finland. If you have recommendations for other countries that you think I should go to next, put them in the comments below.